grave, porque antes de que continuemos con la información, quiero informarle a usted que este fin de semana tuve la oportunidad de entrevistar a un candidato a concejal aquí en Kansas City. Usted me va a decir, ¿y eso qué tiene de importante, qué tiene de fuerte? Fíjese que me llama mucho la atención cómo es que ha llegado este candidato a buscar uno de los puestos de los distritos acá en Kansas City. Él es un organizador comunitario de una, un grupo en pro de los derechos de las personas acá, no solamente en Kansas City, sino en Estados Unidos, llamado KC Tenants. Es una organización que defiende los derechos de personas que no tienen acceso a vivienda asequible y digna, y esto se está convirtiendo en noticia internacional. Ya se convirtió en noticia nacional y en noticia internacional. Y fíjese que a mí me pareció muy interesante el poderme acercar a este señor, Johnathan Duncan, para conocer su historia, para saber de qué va todo esto, ya que estamos aquí en Kansas City. Johnathan Duncan es veterano de la guerra de Irak. Asegura que al regresar de la guerra de Irak se enfrentó a una serie de problemáticas de rezago, de cómo es que le cerraron las puertas de manera gubernamental. Comenzó a organizarse junto con este grupo llamado KC Tenants, y hubo un punto en el que la misma gente, después de que organizara una serie de juntas comunitarias y llegara a cientos de personas en estas juntas comunitarias, le sugirieron que buscara ser concejal de su distrito, el 6º distrito, aquí en Kansas City. Así que bueno, sin más por el momento, déjeme le presento esta historia que es muy interesante. Johnathan Duncan es parte afroamericano, parte mexicano. Él nos va a contar su historia de cómo llegó su familia, sus bisabuelos de hace mucho, mucho tiempo, aquí a los Estados Unidos, esta es la zona de Kansas y Missouri, y cómo es que está buscando, en todo caso, ser uno de los políticos de izquierda que verdaderamente representan a la gente aquí en los Estados Unidos, a diferencia de esa idea que nos plantean una y otra vez de que supuestamente hay liberales y conservadores y que los demócratas son muy liberales. Pues la realidad es que hay que ser muy claros. Muchos políticos demócratas, sobre la gran mayoría, en realidad son de derecha, y no existe la izquierda acá en los Estados Unidos. Uno de los únicos representantes, y mire, eso lo aprendíamos hasta en la universidad, son única y exclusivamente Bernie Sanders. Pero esta es una nueva generación de políticos que desde la independencia, desde los organismos, desde el activismo, están buscando representar a nuestra gente. Creo que vale la pena que conozcamos esta historia en aras de que nosotros también nos pongamos las pilas y busquemos participar en este país, acá en los Estados Unidos.
So Johnathan Duncan, you're a candidate for the 6th Council here in Kansas City. I'm sure that everybody will just start asking you with the proposals of your campaign and all. But how about you tell us a little bit about you? We're reading in your profile that you're part Mexican, right?
Yes, I am. So what I've told people is that I am a descendant of slaves, a descendant of immigrants, specifically Mexican immigrants. My great-grandmother, my bisabuela, is de Guadalajara. And my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather came fleeing the war in Mexico and lived in a boxcar and found work along the railroad in western Kansas. And I ended up in Newton, Kansas because my immigrant relatives and my relatives who were fleeing slavery ended up in Kansas because Kansas was a free state.
Johnathan, you are the progressive candidate. What makes you, with your proposals, better than your opponent, Dan Terwater?
So Dan Tarwater is a conservative, and I am a progressive because my proposals were based out of the genius and the struggle of the people of Kansas City. I'm running a people's campaign. That means that over 600 of Kansas City residents got together through listening sessions and talked about how do we tackle public safety in ways that do not over-police, do not threaten our most vulnerable communities? How do we tackle economic justice? How do we tackle climate justice, affordable housing? And how do we do that by ensuring that the people who are closest to the problem can be closer to the solution? And that looks like actually talking with the most vulnerable members of our community and asking them, what is it that you need? Right? And that's the way that our government should work. It's the way that our city government should work. Our city government should be asking the people who are most affected by the problems, how do we craft solutions? Not craft solutions for you. How do we craft solutions with you? Because we as people know what we need. We need a city government that's going to work with us to craft the solutions alongside us.
If you get this position, what would you do for the Hispanic community, for the Mexicans here? What would it mean to have you in city council for us, for our community?
So I'm a firm believer that representation is not liberation. We actually have to have intentional conversations to ask, again, what does the Mexican community in Kansas City need? When I think about the Mexican community, and historically the West Side, which was a historically Mexican community, you look at the West Side now, it's now been gentrified. You have alongside long-standing homes of the poor and working class Mexican Americans that have long lived in West Side. They are now being pushed out because you are having millionaires build homes next to these houses, and they are being priced out because their property taxes are increasing higher than their incomes. And so I think that there are ways that we can tackle gentrification. I want to ensure that through zoning, that we are ensuring that our communities remain safe from giant developments increasing their taxes at rates that push them out of their communities. And that if we are going to be building housing units in a neighborhood, that neighborhood has a say in how those housing developments are built in their neighborhood and how it's going to affect them.
Johnathan Duncan is a former combatant from the war in Iraq. He's a veteran. And I was going to ask you this from the beginning. He's an advocate for veterans here in the United States. Don't you have a lot on your plate right now to just, you fight for veterans, and now you want to be in city council. Isn't that like a lot for you?
It is a lot, but it's important. I think that we have an opportunity to really decide over the next 4 years who Kansas City is for. And I want to make sure that Kansas City is for the people who live here. I want to make sure that we're not turning into the next Austin or the next Denver or the next San Francisco, where the poor and working class are pushed out to the margins of our city, because the poor and working class are who make Kansas City what it is today. They're the people who, pick up the garbage. They're the people who pour our drinks, cook our food. And we need to make sure that everybody who lives in Kansas City has a place to stay and thrive. And so when I advocate on behalf of veterans, is because first and foremost, I am housing secure because I have a VA-backed home loan. But I don't think that you should have to go to war and be injured in order to be housing secure. I have free medical care through the VA, but I don't think you should have to serve your country in combat in order to have medical care. So I think that extending these benefits to everyone and finding ways that we can extend these benefits through the city council is going to improve our quality of life for all of our Kansas City residents, and they shouldn't just be relegated to veterans.
Currently, there is a whole very passionate and very negative campaign against Mexicans in the United States. There are like some Republican politicians that are just proposing on invading Mexico to fight the cartels and stuff like that. And the sentiment, maybe doesn't look like that because it doesn't appear in the media, but the sentiment is there, an anti-Mexican and anti-immigrant sentiment. What will be your stand on immigration? And if you become one of the members of city council, what would you try to make this city a sanctuary city?
So I want to make sure that this is not just a sanctuary city in name, but that it's a sanctuary city in practice. And what that looks like is ensuring that the city government works for and with the people of Kansas City. And what that looks like in practice is that we are moving our city council meetings to times that the poor and working class can attend them. Instead of having them in the middle of the day, they should be in the evening when most people are off work. We should also be offering translation services for all our committee meetings and our city council meetings. So they should be in Espanol. They should also be in Burmese and other languages that our population here in Kansas City represent. And so it's one thing to say that Kansas City will be a sanctuary city, but what does that look like in practice? And how are we working with our most vulnerable members, and specifically our immigrant communities, to ensure that they feel heard and seen by city government?
Well, thank you very much, Johnathan Duncan. I don't know if you have like some kind of conclusion, something you want to tell the public from Sin Censura.
I would just like to thank you all for taking the time. I hope that you have an opportunity to learn more about me at www.duncan4kc.com. Please vote on June 20th if you have the ability to. If you do not have the ability to vote, there are many organizations that need your help. And I think that it's one thing to mobilize people to vote. It's another thing to organize our city so that we can fight alongside one another to improve our quality of life collectively. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you very much, Johnathan.
Thank you.
Y mire, la importancia de esta entrevista, lo que le quiera comentar yo a usted, es la participación que tenemos nosotros como minoría acá en los Estados Unidos. Este tipo de historias creo que es importante que las conozcamos, que sepamos de este tipo de personajes que al menos están intentando hacer algo por nuestra comunidad acá en Estados Unidos, que quieren sacar adelante sus carreras y que no son los politiqueros de siempre, que no son los mismos de siempre. Pues bueno, yo le agradezco a usted que siga conectado con nosotros y le pido, por favor,